Welcome to another episode of We Don't Die. I'm your host, Sandra Champlain, author of the international best-selling book called We Don't Die, A Skeptic's Discovery of Life After Death. And just a quick announcement, we now have a private Facebook group where we can meet like-minded new friends and chat about all these things we talk about on the episodes, and meet some new friends that will help empower you in your life and through your struggles, and just a great place to chat with new friends. So if you're interested in that and you're on Facebook, simply type in We Don't Die Listeners and join our new group. So today on the show, I want to introduce you to Michelle Szabo and Dennis Grega. Michelle is a Reiki Master Teacher, researcher, artist, author, musician, and herbalist. Dr. Dennis Grega has a Ph.D. in research psychology and has worked extensively with databases and enjoys the esoteric arts. Both Michelle and Dennis are co-founders of three great things. One, afterlifedata.com. The second is voicesacrosstheveil.com. And the third is afterlifelibrary.com. They're both passionate about helping others understand the nature of non-physical reality. And both are scheduled to be at the Afterlife Research and Education Symposium this September 15th through 17th in Scottsdale, Arizona. And if you haven't registered for the event yet or are maybe considering it, check out afterlifestudies.org to find out more. And I'm super excited to meet these two in person. So Michelle and Dennis, welcome to We Don't Die Radio.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Sandra. We're really thrilled to be here chatting with you today.
Yeah, I just imagine you both, on the other side of a computer, both talking into your Skype right now. And it's very rare. I think only once before have we had two for the price of one guests on the show.
And don't forget our cups of coffee, too.
Yeah.
Well, I have my almond milk, so,
Oh, well, that's good. That's
just
very good.
taking that this morning.
Where are you guys this morning?
We're in Missouri.
All righty. Missouri.
The humidity is rising here.
Yeah. I've only been to Missouri a few times. Most times airport, but that's how that goes. Yeah, and we're recording this around noontime. I'm in Massachusetts. And where do we start with this conversation? Here, the listeners, I find everybody's here looking for proof of life after death. Do one of the two of you want to start with where your stories began getting into this? And then maybe we can talk about, how you met and what you're up to.
Sure. So the whole life after death thing kind of came about because both Dennis and I are kind of curious people. And, we're both into a variety of different things from, what kind of, religious beliefs do we have, to esoteric information, to yoga, and, exploring all kinds of different things. We met about 20 years ago, a little bit under that. And we met, interestingly enough, through a book that I was writing way back when, which is completely unrelated to the afterlife.
Okay.
And, so we got together and started exploring different things. And in the mid-2000s, we contacted a couple who have the Afterlife 101 website, which is still active.
Okay.
Has lots of great information on it. And we said to them, you've got all this really cool information on the afterlife. We're wondering if you'd be interested in possibly, partnering and kind of seeing what everybody else has to say about this, because their website is channeled material through one person.
Oh, right? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So, they were like, yeah, that would be great. And, we got to be friendly with them and, understood where they were coming from, and then started to build Afterlife Data by looking at information from respected authors over the last 150 years or so.
Wow.
People like Michael Newton and Alan Kardec, Jane Roberts, who channeled the Seth material, and, a bunch of others. And we continue to do that. So, that's kind of where it all started. And we said, okay, we're going to look at these 265 different life after death topics that they have on Afterlife 101, and we're going to see what all these other people have to say about it. Mm-hmm. And the really fabulous thing is that we ended up with it was about a 94% correlation of the material.
What do you mean by that? Of like the same information?
The information was consistent across the 265 topics. That is, different authors from different eras were recording or reporting the same type of phenomena. Regarding, what happens after death, mm-hmm. Who meets you, where do you go, what it's like. We were interested in knowing whether, the authors across different periods of time would agree. So we wanted to compile this information and then take quotes regarding the different topics and then compare them with the quotes of each other to see how well that they panned out. And that's what we mean, is that they agreed basically 94% of the time, which is really quite powerful.
It's extremely powerful.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Allan Kardec that wrote, in the late 1800s, right up through, like Michael Newton stuff in the 2000s. So the information was agreeing. And so that gives you, a bit of security in knowing that what you're reading from one author is accurate, regardless of when they were writing. They were getting the same information.
That's so cool. Do you guys each have a personal story of when you realized that the afterlife was real, or is it something you've always believed in?
Oh, boy.
Just putting you on the spot. What the heck, right? This is what we do.
It's a really good question, and I'm searching, really quickly. I'm going back, did I believe, my background, and I'll speak for Dennis too a little bit, is, we were both brought up in a Christian community. Mm-hmm. His was a little bit different. He was Russian Orthodox, right? And mine was kind of a Church of Christ congregational type of upbringing. And no matter how you look at it, it's still biblically based type of upbringing. Yeah. And there's not a lot of information hanging around the Christian religious belief system about the afterlife, right. And what happens. It's just, it unfortunately has a lot of fear around it. Not all belief systems within the Christian religion, but a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Do this because otherwise you'll get this, or do this and everything will be happy and wonderful. And that just kind of didn't fly for me. And I think Dennis was kind of questioning that as well.
Well, so actually, in terms of myself, I remember being 8 years old. And realizing death. And I remember being in the basement of my parents' house, bawling like a baby. And they were out shoveling snow. This was in Detroit. And they came down wondering what was going on. And, I had realized that we were all going to die. Yeah. And then I remember seeing, pictures in the newspaper where they were having demonstrations, the hippies at that time, and, they were holding signs up that God is dead. And I was going, is that true?
That's scary. Yeah.
Right.
Especially for an 8-year-old.
So I would say, since from an early age, I've been, searching, because then I got into, even in my teens and before that, I read Arthur Ford's autobiography. He's the one that actually made contact with Houdini, though, he disavowed that he did. And, was reading about near-death not near-death experiences, but OBEs, out-of-body experiences, with Monroe's stuff. So I had kind of quite a library at an early age of more esoteric side of things, magic and alchemy and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So I've been searching a long time.
Yeah, I'd say mine was probably about, in earnest, about 20 years ago when I really started. Just before I think Dennis and I met, probably. Mm-hmm. So it's been a very interesting path through a lot of different things.
Oh, of
Well,
course.
one
Yeah.
of the things, and this is, because Victor and Wendy Zamet have supported Afterlife Data since its launch. And their site, victorzamet.com, was one of the ones that really got me going in terms of being serious about trying to find out. And then I remember, reading Gary Schwartz's Afterlife Experiments, and then I found Afterlife 101, and we started that correspondence with, what we call the two anonymous co-creators on Afterlife Data. I wish they would reveal themselves.
Yeah.
The information was just at such a high level on Victor Zamet's site, as well as on Afterlife 101, that, basically I sent an email to, he called himself Anchor on Afterlife 101, and he replied, and we started, a correspondence to where, we actually, got together and put together Afterlife Data, which was, very cool.
Yeah, and if anyone listening here doesn't know who Victor Zamet is, if you go to victorzamet.com, he's got this Friday Afterlife report that every Friday, actually it comes on Thursday in the U.S. here, but he and his wife Wendy send just a newsletter about what they're finding in the world of the afterlife. He's an author. He's got so much information, and I always look forward to getting those in my email box. There's no denying the afterlife when we really start researching on all these sites.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that is really important when you're asking this question is you really need to be open to a lot of new things because, we're brought up in certain ways and, we're kind of going about our lives, here on Earth, and we're doing our physical thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're not as concerned about, what happens after that or even what happened before, which is an even more interesting question, right? And, when you start opening up and you really start asking the questions and earnestly listening for the answers, you're going to get an awful lot of information. And it's not about, how fast you can get that information or whether or not a light bulb is going to go on and say, oh, yes, I believe in the afterlife now and all of that, which, we're always interested in instant gratification in this culture, right?
Yeah, you betcha.
But this is a little more work than that. You really have to start to experience certain things throughout your asking in order to really begin to understand what's going on and what information is out there about the afterlife and how it relates to life here on Earth. So it's a process.
No doubt. I know one of my beliefs is that we're each on our own individual journey. And, mine started from a fear of dying myself that just I had a thirst and I needed to quench it. And, there's something about going from being like having faith in something, and then you move on to, I believe in it. And then there's a whole different way of living life to know it, and I think it's not something that's just going to come just overnight. I remember, and God bless this woman, but she sent me an email and she wanted me to just sum up in an email all the reasons she should believe in life after death, right? And I thought, my God, it's almost 20 years of researching and trying and believing and listening and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, I can't. Plus, don't you feel like we all are on our own individual journeys?
Oh, absolutely, Sandra. It's even very difficult to explain this sometimes, especially when people want answers right now. Like that lady who sent you that email, right? Yeah. You can't just summarize this stuff. It has to be internalized. It has to be experienced. You have to understand it at your own level, not somebody else's.
Right.
But once that happens, then you feel like you're on vacation.
Yes.
Vacation with a purpose, though, I think, because it's like, okay, now if life after death is real, what is life for, And then that sets in a whole new set of way of, being responsible for our life and all that sort of thing.
It becomes fun, though.
It does.
It's like we take things so seriously because, we're fearful that we're only here for a really short time, and so we better compact as much stuff as possible and compress it and
get it right.
And somehow, what happens afterward is, you end up, if you don't believe in death or in life after death, and you end up in the ground, and that's it. And you wonder what happens, why, but once wow, time almost stops. And now you have time to do all the things that you really wanted to do to enjoy.
Yeah, like the book says, don't sweat the small stuff. I mean, you really put life into perspective. And even when something goes wrong, it's like, hey, maybe this I picked for, growth of my soul. Maybe that other person isn't really a jerk. Maybe this is a lesson for me. I mean, you can take so many things in a different stride.
Well, one of the things that, I think that we've learned out of doing the research that we have is that we're never given a challenge that we can't overcome, and once you kind of have that perspective, then anything that comes down the road that you might consider, quote, bad or not, at least not good, is something to be looked at as a challenge that we can overcome, because the inner self wouldn't give us something that was impossible, right? Yeah. Because from our perspective, there isn't anything that's impossible. So there are no limitations.
Wow. Where do we go next with the conversation? You guys are up to so many things. Well, let me just ask, how does Afterlife Library differ from afterlifedata.com?
Well, actually, Afterlife Library came out of the books on afterlifedata.com. So, we used certain books as reference material and, research material. And then there were a whole bunch of other books that we had come across. Literally thousands of books. And we said, well, maybe we didn't use these for research, but they're still really important books. And, so it would really behoove us to make sure that people know that all of these books are out there. And, some of them are more obscure books. Some of them are, old PDFs from old, no longer copyrighted, type of information. And all of that is really, really important to take a look at, and, maybe even if you don't understand all of it, to at least understand parts of it, so that you start to get a nicer scope of information. And if you take a look on Afterlife Library, there's so many different categories that we've put up there. We have, the afterlife, consciousness, paranormal information, reincarnation, religion, science, and then, we even organize them by writing collections, by the author's names and stuff. So, just go on there and take a look. And, for full disclosure, we have a lot of links on there to either purchase or download things. Some things are free. Other things do link to Amazon, which then, we get a small percentage of, whatever that sale is to help.
It's like 14 cents. I have that account too.
Yeah. Let's just say we won't get rich doing that.
No,
but it's a little something to help with,
and Amazon, it's so easy to share that stuff. And a lot of people, I can't say everybody buys on Amazon, but that's where I usually shop, because I'm lazy about getting out of the house.
When we couldn't find it on Amazon, we put links to other places, that probably don't have, any kind of a kickback on it or anything like that. Yeah. So the idea was to just get this out there, and both Afterlife Library and Afterlife Data are completely free to look at, to browse, to use in your research and all of that. So, and we do have a lot of people actually around the world.
We've heard that there's a lot of researchers that are actually utilizing the sites for their own research, which is very cool. Yeah. So, we've learned that from actually one of our, from Dr. Michelle Waring, who is out of the UK and now works with us on Afterlife Data. And she was saying that, she's been in contact with a number of researchers who've been utilizing the sites. We actually have plans for another site of a more esoteric nature The Afterlife Library has about 3,000 books on it, and we have about another 4,000 to put up, which are going to cover various esoteric arts. So we're looking forward to putting that up soon.
We have 4,000 more, really? Wow.
Is mine, can you put mine on there? My book.
Well,
that's the first thing I did is I put my last name in. I thought, oh, they don't know me yet. That's my ego? I know it is, but
no, that's fine.
It's just
send us the cover art.
I'm a human.
Yeah, we'll definitely get it up.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. There's so much information out there. Whenever somebody has written something, and they want it to be considered for Afterlife Library, absolutely, send us the information, and we're glad to take a look at it, and assuming it fits into one of these categories,
Sure.
and makes sense with the purpose of the site, then absolutely we'll put it up.
What I love, you guys, is that you've created something like this, because I remember when I first started researching, the internet was not what it is now. And it's hard to find things. I'd go into a bookstore and, they'd have limited books on things, or in a library, and to go to one place and have so much at your fingertips. Interested in reincarnation? Well, here's 500 books on it. But the thing is that beginning on this search, and for each human being, it's our own, like I said, personal journey, and it could come from fear of dying. It could come from, if someone has passed away, or, has been diagnosed with something. Like, everybody has this journey. And, when I started off, I'm like, oh, maybe I can find a book on it, right? And now there's thousands of things, and to know that people have walked this path before, they've written their stories, they're sharing them. Boy, I tell you, it makes life so much easier that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, that you just have to read.
Yeah, it really is. It's so true. One of the things that I'd like people who are listening to this to walk away with, if nothing else, is to really, really understand that it is a journey, and each journey is individual and personal, and you have to have patience with yourself. Again, going back to this concept of instant gratification, our culture, it just thrives on that. It's like, oh, boom, how fast can we get it up on the internet? How fast can we do this? How fast can we do that? And how fast can we take a pill to fix this, or, whatever it is. But really be patient with yourself and look for a deeper understanding in what you're doing and what you're searching for. And it will come, you know?
Yeah, and it's a joyful process.
It
To
is.
meet that's you heard me mention this Facebook group I started, but I thought in my life there's just a couple of people that want to hear my stories, right? People that I actually see. And meanwhile, there's thousands of people that listen to these shows. I thought, well, how can we all get together and talk? And if some of us live in the same state, maybe we can get together, and really support each other. That's why I think it's so necessary to have, even like meeting you guys now for the first time. Now we've joined arm in arm. We're going to continue to share and make a difference. It's so important to have people with us, behind us, both visible and invisible, because we know we have a whole team of invisible people working on our behalf.
Oh, we sure do.
Yeah. That's why, even though everyone has their own individual path, you're still not alone.
No.
And that's what's really something to take to heart, because, again, you'll always get a way to solve whatever the issue is that's confronting you at that time. And you just need to know that you will solve it, and it will get solved. And, you have your inner self. You're more than just, a physical bag of bones,
Much more. That's the least of what we are. Dennis, I want to ask you too, sorry to interrupt. It's hard to have three of us and we're not actually looking at each other to not interrupt or step on your toes. But if somebody is searching for that invisible evidence that they're supported, if they go to afterlifedata.com, can we search out things like our spirit guides or angels or, that sort of thing?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
There's whole sections on the afterlife and what it's like, and the kind of support that you get from non-physical entities. It really covers a lot of material from the start of the death process right on through into like Michael Newton stuff with the between life
Right.
information. So yeah, I mean, you'll find out about your spirit guides and what it's all about. And you'll find out, there's also information regarding what our purposes are on Earth, why we even evolve here, or why are we even here? And so I think we've covered, there's like 265 topics, and it really does cover a lot of information.
All right. So now you've opened up. Why are we here? What do you think from all the parallels that you've brought together?
From my perspective,
Yeah.
it's to learn how to manipulate to manipulate energy. From my understanding, based on my own readings, we have individuated on this planet in order to learn how to manipulate physical matter, which is really nothing but energy anyway, and to learn how to do that because we're doing it through our thoughts. The way we think and how we think is how we create our reality. And once we understand that, then we can go on into other non-physical dimensions that require more of us. That we're learning how to become responsible co-creators here is what my belief system is. And we're kind of like in an elementary school here, learning how to build blocks and knock them down and then rebuild them again. But ultimately, nothing really gets destroyed, and we're here to learn how to do that because there's other realms and dimensions that, thought becomes instantaneously matter in whatever form it is on those areas, and we need to learn how to do it responsibly, and that's why we're here. That's my view.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, there's so much. And I mean, I'm no master in this, but really watching our words, watching our thoughts.
Yes.
And I've even done experiments with journaling and giving gratitude for things before they happen and really living as if something happens. And lo and
Right.
behold, it shows up in my life. I mean, it's freaky, but I love, I'm feeling like a toddler though, building the blocks. Like, yeah, that's why we're here. I love it. Michelle, what do you say
Yeah.
to answer that?
I've got to tell you, I'm at the same place. So I don't know how much more I can add to
No,
what
that's all right.
Dennis has described already. We do have our differences in, certain things and, how to actually, let's see, how to implement all of that on a physical level. We have a little bit of difference there, but I'd say overall what Dennis just described is really my belief as well. We are here to learn how to manipulate energy. And if you bring that down to a physical level, it's, how do you do that on a day-to-day basis, right? Take care with your words, take care with your thoughts, take care with your actions, right? Be responsible for your own actions, thoughts, words. I think when you start to really understand more of what we're here for through research, reading, contemplation, understanding, then you really start to see how that affects you on a day-to-day level. And it changes how you live your life. If I looked at my 25-year-old self and compared it to my current self, I'll try not to give away too much there. It's pretty night and day.
Yeah.
And I've changed a lot. And there are actually people from, 30 years ago that I've connected with on Facebook and, haven't had a lot of contact with them over the years. And I'm sure they're going, wow, is that the same person? So And probably even, just since we've known each other, Dennis, there's been a change in, I know who you are, and, you probably have seen a huge change in me as well.
Yeah.
So, my bottom line is that, being here is about not only, learning the energetic manipulation of everything, right? And how to do that responsibly, but to do it in a loving and compassionate way toward others, right?
Yes.
The idea is not to, get what you want all the time, right? Which is a lot of, unfortunately, what we're taught, especially throughout our schooling.
Yeah.
But, you can do things to gain what it is that you desire, but you don't have to step on people in the process. And you don't have to go off, killing people in the process, which unfortunately is done an awful lot around the world now. But that's a whole nother conversation.
What would you guys say? Because it's great to think about creating our own realities and things like this, but I'm going to just speak for myself, who's got this negative brain sometimes. It just, I can't, I'm not the one, I'm not good enough. We're fighting, or it doubts, it's filled with skepticism. How, do we overcome that? Do we make that voice our friend? Is it like a muscle that we're learning to that we're building to create?
I think it actually is very revealing of beliefs that you probably accumulated or accrued over time, and that they're now coming out because you're starting to learn. And I do the same thing. Okay,
we're human, yeah.
But it's actually a great thing, because it's like, where did that negative thought come from, and why am I thinking that? And what is it that, would bring that about? And if you really dig into it, you'll find, it's an old belief system that's trying to hang on, because it's now feeling threatened by the new ones that you're starting to bring in. And either it'll turn into an integration where that old belief that is causing these negative thoughts to try to hold on will actually modify and transform into something different, or else you'll get rid of it and you'll replace it with a new one. And to me, it's a actual electromagnetic physical reality, in the sense that, these are charges that you've accumulated over time. We all have. We've been all taught a certain way, a certain belief system, a certain agenda. And I think we're starting now, by delving into these other areas, we're starting to learn there's a whole different way of looking at things, and that brings about a threat. And that's why when Michelle was talking about the process or the journey, that is part of the journey, is getting rid of these old beliefs, because you're learning new ways of looking at reality. And so there's a certain point at which there's a conflict and there's a transition. And some people will fall back and say, that stuff's like way too weird for me, I want to go back. And others will delve forward, and you'll meet, all these. I know I went through it. I went through agonizing times, because, I was brought up in a conventional Western scientific experimental regimen design. And so I had to learn that there was more to it than just isolating a variable and studying its effects. I learned that there is an association involved with all things. And so that there's more than just, statistically analyzing something. It goes beyond that. And, it took me a long time to get through that. So I understand what you're going through.
Yeah. Many are. Michelle, was there something you want to add to that?
Well, one of the things that always seems to come up with this is the concept of negative and positive, dark and light.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, if you didn't have those negative thoughts, you wouldn't be able to balance them against other thoughts, right? So, let's say you're driving down the street and, somebody pulls out in front of you, and does something really stupid. Boy, do I know this.
Right.
And it's one of the things that really gets in my craw, personally. Because I feel like, gosh, can't you be more careful?
Right.
That kind of thing, right? And then I think to myself, well, yeah, and that's where I'm coming from, and that's where I am. But where is this person coming from? What just happened to them? Did they just get fired from their job? Are they running away from, somebody who's beating them? Did they just have a horrible argument with somebody and, they just, they don't know what to do with it all. And, they're just lashing out and driving, completely irresponsibly. Right. So you really, you can react to those types of things in a negative way and just say, look what this person has done to me. Or you can say, I see what's going on. Not so great. Maybe you need to yell, maybe you need to swear at them, whatever it is that you need to do. Okay, get it off your chest. But then, step back for a second and say, well, what's going on in their life? What could possibly be happening that they have to behave in that way? Right. And there's a balance that I think we are always working with here on this physical plane. Of, good and bad, light and dark, whatever it is that you want to call it. And sometimes you're balanced a little bit one way, and sometimes you're balanced a little bit the other way. And sometimes it's more extreme, and sometimes it's not. So I think recognizing that and understanding that you need to bring yourself into balance is really important. And that's part of the reason, actually, why I started doing Reiki. Because I felt like it was something that really helped to balance things. So
great. I have another question just because time goes by so quick. You guys are doing something that I've not seen anybody else do, something called Voices Across the Veil. Can you explain what that is? Because to me, that's very exciting. Very exciting.
Well, come with me on a little journey here.
Oh, okay, I'm with you. Right by your side. Let's go.
Okay. So, we decide, we have to run out and we have to do some errands, right? Oh, let's go hop in the car.
Okay.
All right. It's a nice day. It's sunny and everything. Air conditioner's on because here, once it hits June, it starts to get like ridiculously hot and humid and, just dying for November to show up again.
Right.
But, we're driving down the road and Dennis goes,
I have a great idea.
I go, oh, yeah? What's that?
Well, we were talking about, what more can we do with afterlife data?
Right.
And on top of that, we were getting a lot of emails from all over the world asking us to recommend mediums, because they wanted to communicate with somebody who had just passed.
Yes.
We're located in Missouri. We were in Connecticut before. I mean, we're not all around the world, so we don't know mediums all around the world. And so all we could say is, check the internet or, because we don't know locally what they should do. And so it came that, why don't we bring the mediums to them? With the internet now, you can have communication just like you're in Massachusetts and we're in Missouri. Why can't the mediums talk? And, they have been. They've been doing phone conversations and things like that. But we were thinking, why not do an outgrowth of afterlife data? That is a compilation of 150 years of writings. What happens now? Can we do real-time research and at the same time bring loved ones to people around the world that are looking to communicate?
Yeah.
Do it all at once, and that's what Voices Across the Veil basically is. It's the ability to have group sessions at a reasonable cost for anyone who has an internet connection from around the world. We've had people from around the world participate with a medium who presides over the session. It can last for maybe an hour and a half, and we limit it to 6 people, so we make sure everyone gets a reading. And basically now we don't get those emails anymore because, people have access to Voices Across the Veil. They can sign up and they can participate and communicate. And at the same time, as a benefit to us, we're asking them to do pre and post questionnaires so we get their views about the afterlife and in afterlife communication prior to their session and then after the session.
What kind of questions? Because I was on your site this morning, and I think it is a fantastic thing. First of all, sometimes you don't know what medium to trust, and then people would spend $100, $200. I've heard some horrific stories of price people pay, and then maybe a good reading, maybe not. So there you go on your website. You can look at a date, and you can sign up for a very, very reasonable cost, and then what happens? You send a questionnaire?
No, actually, it's all online.
Okay.
They sign up. It's $40 for the session, and then they get logged into an administrative back end on the website that goes through a number of. It takes only about 15 minutes, but it's a number of questionnaires that we've put together from the world of psychology and our own. So we're asking them, their prior participation in with mediums beforehand, how accurate the information was. We don't ask for names in terms of who the mediums were or anything like that.
Right.
And then we have some standard questionnaires that ask them about their, belief systems. And so what they're coming into the session with. And then after the session, they get some of the same questions to find out whether there's been any changes.
Oh.
And what we're finding out is that, and we don't force people to have to fill out the questionnaires. It's of their own free will. But, we definitely emphasize the fact that we're also doing research on top of providing this kind of service. But we're finding out so far, and this is what's really cool, is that 86% of the people that have responded have said that they've received accurate information.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
by
cool.
Accurate information, we're looking for things that are very evidential.
Yeah.
It's not things that, you could just kind of pick up on, based on looking at, somebody's response to, what
Yes.
you're just saying. You know what we mean.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
It's very, very evidential stuff.
And all the mediums have, we canvassed hundreds of mediums, and there's a lot of great ones out there.
Yeah.
And so we feel like the universe has attracted us to certain ones, and we feel that we have world-class mediums, ones that have many, many years of experience, have proven themselves over time with providing evidential information to people, and that's come out to be true. I mean, the sessions have been amazing, absolutely amazing. There was one that sticks out, the pool one.
Yeah, I know.
What happened there?
I gotta hear this. It's fabulous.
This is great. An uncle came through for this woman and was, providing a lot of evidential information regarding their life and various events that happened in the past. But all of a sudden, he started talking about the pool. You got to check the pool. And we didn't know it, but at the time, they actually had a built-in pool. Mm-hmm. And we were wondering, why is he emphasizing the pool to the medium, to this woman? Well, after the session, the woman wrote back and said that the side wall of the pool had fallen in.
Oh my gosh.
And he was trying to alert them that this was happening while the session was going on.
Oh, that's terrific. Wow.
And that to us is pretty evidential.
Oh yeah, I've witnessed some crazy things as well. Do you need to have a camera to do this, webcam?
No, it's video conferencing.
It's video conferencing. The mediums that we work with prefer to be able to see you.
Yep.
It's not absolutely necessary, but they all feel that the connection is better when they can see you. Mm-hmm. So they don't meet any of the people beforehand. They do not know their names. They just know how many people are going to be on the session. And then they just start the session.
And then everybody dials in at like a set time and has their own
Yes,
code to get
exactly.
in, kind of a thing.
Yep.
You know what I like about this is that sometimes, like, I haven't even needed a message for myself. I've witnessed such a clear communication for someone else
Yeah.
Mhm.
that is so breathtaking
Yeah.
that it completely, like, that does it for me. I've talked to people that have had some stories that are so magnificent that it's like, I don't care if I get anything after that. So
Yeah.
to be in a room, a virtual room with 5 other people
Mhm.
and to experience that. And
Yeah.
it takes the fear away. I mean, sometimes it's, you don't know who this medium is and you get them on the phone or whatever. And you just don't know. So, I mean, to be in a group of people that's safe and fun, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
and every one of our sessions has, I think, without exception, right? That
Mm.
they've just been these great sessions with people who are there, with a common purpose. Some people are there to hear from a loved one. Some people are there to try and understand, whether or not, they believe in an afterlife. Whatever their reasoning is, it doesn't make any difference. The important thing is that, they're open and they're there and willing to listen to what's going on in the session. And you're absolutely right that, even if you didn't get a reading, which, everybody does, but to hear the other people get these evidential readings, you just sit there and go, wow. you know?
Yeah, I mean, even in the last session that we had a friend of ours that transitioned 2 months ago from lung cancer,
Wow.
and her husband has since moved to New Jersey, and we had a session 2 weeks ago,
Yeah, a couple
and
weeks.
I was monitoring that session. And after the reading, one reading to one of the participants, the medium looked at me and says, "Dennis, there's somebody here that wants to talk to you." And it turned out to be his wife. And to let him know that she was doing fine. And there was a lot of evidential information that came through. And this was a medium that was located in Massachusetts, did not know our friend at all.
Yeah.
And provided a breakthrough in terms of a communication that I received, that I was able to relay to him and let him know. And we're going to actually extract that portion of the video and send it to him so that he can see, because she had a lot of personal information that she wanted to relay to him. It was very, very cool.
This makes me so happy. And I just have this vision of those in the afterlife getting together, like knowing, okay, it's 7 o'clock now on Tuesday. They're all getting together. Okay, you're over here, you're over here, you jump over there. Hey, check out the pool. Let them know about the pool. This kind of stuff is fun. And of course, yes, I know the pain of grief is the worst pain I've ever felt. And so many people, yes, do come looking for evidence and something to relieve the pain. But, where our loved ones are and where we're going to go, I mean, this is a fun place. It's joyful. And we can bring that right here. So I thank you for creating it. Now, is this something that, I've got to be on a waiting list for 6 months to go to one of these?
No, we add new
Sessions?
sessions on a regular basis,
Okay.
probably about every month or so you do it, right?
Mhm.
We add new sessions.
Oh, great.
Right now, I think we've got one session
We
the
have
rest
one
of
in
June,
June and two in July right now.
two in
Okay.
July. And then, we'll be adding more as, time goes on. So it's basically $40, which is very, very inexpensive to have a high-level medium do a
Yes.
session with you. And, and you get to sit through everybody else's too, and it's all recorded. So, we
you
make
get
a
free
recording available for
Man,
it.
that's awesome. Now it's $40 now, but somebody could be listening to this in 2030, because YouTube's going to
Yeah.
exist forever. So the price might go up. by the way, if you if you're listening to this in
Yeah.
the future, we're recording this in
you know,
2017.
Ideally, what we would love to do is to, find some funding and be able to do it for free.
Oh, that'd be great.
So,
Now,
that would be our ideal.
yeah. And now, if you get an abundance of people that come to the website and they find there's no dates available, is there some place that we can leave you our email address for whenever the next one is, that sort of thing?
Yes, they can sign up for our newsletter on afterlifedata.com.
Okay.
And that will get them, some information. We don't send a lot of newsletters out.
Thank you. Thank you.
But yeah,
we all get enough stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's important because right now, I went on this morning and there were dates available. So, but you just never know if when this catches on. It really is one-stop shopping. It's even for me. I get asked a lot. Who can I see? And, some of the best mediums that I know of, there's a year-long waiting list, So to get access is...
That's very true for the mediums that we're working with, that their private sessions, they do have quite a long waiting list.
And they're expensive.
And, you can certainly get on those waiting lists, but, for $40, and you contribute to this research, which we find, we really feel is so important. And we're going to be sharing some of the results of the research at the conference in September, of course, and that's going to be really exciting. So we're starting to put some of that together now.
Yeah. And these meetings are doing it because they believe in the project and they believe in getting the word out regarding life after death. And, clearly they're not making anywhere close to what they would normally make on a private session or even on their own group sessions. And so they're doing this out of the goodness of their heart, which we really, really appreciate.
Yeah, very much.
Most of the people I've found, especially through this Afterlife Research and Education Foundation or Institute, just really good, authentic people wanting to make a difference and serve mankind.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and we have to make money because it's just we got to live, we got to pay the mortgage and things like that, But this is just fantastic. I really am excited to hear you speak in September. And just a reminder to anybody listening, even if you can't go to the symposium, there's people around the world that, like every episode, guys, I talk about the symposium. People write me like, I can't go, but it sounds so good. Still go to the website, afterlifestudies.org, because you can check out who's there. You can, check out everybody's websites, what people are doing. And then you can actually, for I think it's only $25 or $30, join the AREI, it's called Afterlife Research and Education Institute. Be a member and be part of this, and I know they're filming the event and they'll make those films available at a future date, but check it out anyways. What were you going to say? And I interrupted?
Oh, no, it's okay. We're relatively new to the AREI, and just want to say that we're really grateful that our Craig Hogan actually contacted us, Michelle, in January, and that's how we found out and became more active, and we really appreciate the fact that he did that. So
I'm super excited. We're recording this now in June 2017, still a few months out, and they're hoping to have 500 people there. And when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he says there's already 300 that have registered. So great. This is exciting. So it's fun for me to be able to spread the word. And it's also fun because, people have written that we've talked on email or, have listened to your show, but we get to meet in person. We are real live people behind these episodes and emails and, video conferencing. We're real people. We're normal people. We love people. If we know something and we can make a difference in another life, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Sandra, I don't know if you know, but Craig had attended one of the sessions.
No.
Yeah, he did, and he really enjoyed it. As a matter of fact, if you poke around on AREI, I think he says something about it and put up some information and a link for us, which was really very, very gracious of him.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to being on a session myself just to try it out, I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it'd be
please.
fun. Yeah, and sometimes we don't need an hour with a medium to get the information we need, just even a few minutes to just know our loved one's there and it's spectacular. So I love that. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
And
usually each person gets about, 15 minutes or so?
that's
Oh, yeah.
And some
quite
of
a
them are
bit.
longer, but
Yeah, this is so exciting. And you give me another toy to share. Ha 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 ha. Well, our time is running towards an end. How about you each uh, go deep inside your heart there, and if there's any closing words or something you want to share, or maybe there's something I forgot to ask you that you like, or just if you want to just leave a couple words of inspiration for us.
well, again, I just like to emphasize that, we're on a journey here and we're here to learn things, to improve ourselves, to improve the lives of others. And one of the things that I came across when I was researching a lot of information, changing the way I was living my life, was this idea of service to self versus service to others. And I think the more that you can reach out in love and compassion and be of service to others, the more you'll be able to change your own life. So
That's beautiful. Amen, sister. No doubt about it.
How
High
do
five. High five. Dennis, what about you?
I guess to me, one of the most important questions in life is to find out what it's like after life. And once you know, it's a vacation and it's fun and you'll have a great time. And I just hope that anyone that's listening, that they go through the journey to discover for themselves what it's all about.
Yeah, so beautiful. I remember a quote that I heard once before that our lifetime here is, but a thread in the fabric of our soul. It's just a teeniest, tiniest little piece.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you both so much for being here today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this was fabulous, and it was too short.
Yeah, I know, but we just
going
get
on
a
for
taste.
hours.
Yeah, I know. But I'm excited to explore your website. So once again, afterlifedata.com, and then we have afterlifelibrary.com, and then the one I want to play with is voicesacrosstheveil.com. Love it. Love it. And you who's listening right now, if you scroll beneath this episode, if you can, if you're on YouTube or some of the podcast sites have it. I have in the description of this episode, I have the live links to their websites. And if you're listening on iTunes, I always encourage you go to wedon'tdieradio.com. I have all these episodes listed and you can easily click on the links and get the information to our guests. And for you, our listener who spent this past hour with Dennis and Michelle and I want to thank you for being here. Each and every episode, you know me. I think you know me by now. I aim to give or have our guests share some good evidence of why we should believe in life after death. But more importantly, if we don't have that fear of dying, the fear of living goes away, or a little bit goes away, and we really can reach for our dreams. We can attain them. Like Dennis said, we are never given a challenge we can't overcome. So inspiring, and we're here together on this mission in Earth. So lastly, feel free also to go to that Facebook group. Just type in We Don't Die Listeners. That's where that is, because then we can meet and chat in that private group. So in closing, my name's Sandra Champlain, and I'm delighted that I get to be your host on We Don't Die Radio. And I do believe that life is an education for the soul, and that you, my friend, your life is important. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.